Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we unpack the secrets hidden in plain sight within the corporate world. Today we are diving into Universal Health Services Incorporated's latest quarterly reported document that might sound dry, but is absolutely packed with juicy details about how a massive healthcare company is doing and what challenges it's facing. Think big numbers, big risks, and a whole lot of complex legal mumbo jumbo. We are going to break it all down for you. Before we dive in, if you appreciate this kind of deep dive into corporate filings, make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell so you do not miss our next analysis. Also, we have a growing community on Discord discussing these filings, so check out the link in the description below. Alright, let us jump right into the numbers. For the 3 months ending the 30th of September this year, Universal Health Services Incorporated reported revenues of over $4.4 billion. That is a solid number showing that people are still using their hospitals and healthcare services. Now that is up from about $3.9 billion in the same period last year. So their top line is growing, which is always a good sign. But here is where things get interesting. While revenue is up, they spent over $2 billion on salaries, wages, and benefits in just 3 months. That is a huge cost, and it makes up a big chunk of the company's overall expenses, around 46% of their revenue. This tells us that healthcare is very labor intensive, and keeping staff happy and paid is a massive part of their business challenge. Looking at the 9-month period ending the 30th of September this year, their revenue climbed to over $12.8 billion compared to nearly $11.7 billion last year. That is an increase of about 10%. On the expenses side, salaries, wages, and benefits for the 9-month period were close to $6.1 billion. This shows a consistent pattern of high labor costs matching the revenue growth. It is a delicate balance they have to maintain. The company reported income from operations at over $521 million for the 3-month period. That is a significant improvement from around $384 million last year. This suggests they are becoming more efficient at turning revenue into actual profit from their core services. For the 9-month period, income from operations surged to over $1.4 billion, up from about $1.2 billion last year. This growing operational income is a strong signal that their business strategies are working. Now let us talk about debt. Their interest expense for the 3-month period was about $38 million, which is down from around $44 million last year. And for the 9-month period, it was almost $114 million, down from about $146 million last year. This decrease in interest expense is good news. It likely means they have managed to reduce their overall debt or secured better interest rates on their loans. In the world of corporate finance, lower interest payments mean more money left over for the company to reinvest or return to shareholders. The company paid roughly $118 million in income taxes for the 3-month period, up from about $75 million last year. And for the 9-month period, they paid over $327 million in taxes compared to about $234 million last year. This increase in taxes is expected when profit goes up, and more importantly, it shows they are a profitable company, but also subject to the corporate tax structure. So what is the bottom line? Net income attributable to Universal Health Services Incorporated for the 3-month period was over $372 million. That is a healthy jump from around $258 million last year. And for the 9-month period, it was over $1 billion, which is a substantial 29% increase from last year's $810 million. These are very strong profit numbers, showing the company is performing well financially. Now let us take a quick look at their financial health from the balance sheet. As of the 30th of September this year, their total assets were over $15.3 billion. That is a big number, reflecting their extensive network of facilities and operations. Their accounts receivable, which is money owed to them by patients and insurers, was over $2.5 billion. This is a critical metric for any healthcare provider since it represents the money they are still waiting to collect. The increase from last year suggests either more services were provided or payments are taking a bit longer to come in. They have over $13 billion tied up in property and equipment, which makes sense given they own and operate numerous hospitals and facilities. This shows a significant investment in their infrastructure. Looking at liabilities, their current maturities of long-term debt were over $740 million. That seems high and indicates a significant chunk of their debt needs to be paid back within the next year. This is something to keep an eye on for their liquidity. On the equity side, they have over $7.1 billion in UHS common stockholders, equity a testament to the retained earnings and capital invested by shareholders. The notes to the financial statements are where we find the really interesting stories and potential risks. Universal Health Services Incorporated is deeply intertwined with Universal Health Realty Income Trust. They serve as advisors and hold a significant stake. This relationship is complex and involves advisory fees, rent payments, and the accounting for these investments. It is a situation where we see the company managing its real estate assets in a very strategic way. This section always gets my attention because it talks about potential problems and legal risks which can seriously impact a company's financials. Universal Health Services Incorporated has substantial self-insurance programs for professional and general liability. Despite having excess insurance policies, they are exposed to significant costs if claims are numerous or severe. The filing highlights a major lawsuit involving Cumberland Hospital for children and adolescents, where a jury awarded over $60 million in compensatory damages and a massive $180 million in treble damages, plus $120 million in punitive damages. While the punitive damages were reduced by the court, the initial verdict amount is eye-popping. They also mentioned significant ongoing litigation in Nevada against UHS of Delaware, incorporated with a jury awarding $4.7 million in compensatory damages and a jaw-dropping $500 million in punitive damages, which is expected to be reduced. These legal battles are a big risk factor and can lead to massive payouts that affect their bottom line. The company is also talking about their property insurance and specifically the deductibles and coverage for events like earthquakes, floods, and windstorms, especially in Puerto Rico. This shows they are preparing for natural disasters and have provisions for them, but the costs associated with these events can still be significant. Now let us look at how the company is performing. For the 3-month period ending the 30th of September this year, net revenues increased by 13.4% or $532 million compared to last year. This growth is driven by their core services in acute care and behavioral health, but also from newly opened hospitals in Las Vegas and Washington, D.C. This expansion into new markets is a key part of their growth strategy. Income from operations for the 3-month period was up by a strong 46%. This is a great sign as it shows their operational efficiency is improving and they are making more money from their core business activities. The 9-month period also showed a significant increase in operational income. When we look at their acute care hospital services on a same facility basis, meaning excluding the impact of new acquisitions or divestitures, revenue increased by 12.8% in the 3-month period. This means their existing hospitals are performing better. The report also mentions an increase in admissions and net revenue per adjusted patient day. It is a diverse picture of growth and efficiency. Similarly, their behavioral health services on a same facility basis also saw revenue growth of 9.3% in the 3-month period. This indicates strong performance across both segments of their business. Despite some increases in wage costs, their ability to manage expenses has led to better income from operations. We have to talk about where the money comes from. Universal Health Services Incorporated gets a lot of its revenue from government programs like Medicare and Medicaid. This is a common theme for large healthcare providers. They highlight the complexities of these programs, including supplemental payment programs in states like Texas and Nevada. The report details how these programs work and mentions that they are contingent on annual approvals and can be impacted by changes in federal funding. This is a recurring concern for the industry. There is a constant need to adapt to evolving government regulations and reimbursement policies. Medicare payments are a huge part of their revenue, and the company spends a lot of time explaining the details of the Medicare prospective payment system and how the rates are adjusted. They provide estimates for upcoming payment increases, which is crucial for understanding their future revenue streams. The Medicaid program is also a significant revenue driver, and the report dives into various state-specific supplemental payment programs. It details how these programs work with provider taxes and net benefits. They highlight specific programs in Texas, Nevada, Kentucky, and California, and importantly mention upcoming legislative changes like the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This legislation could significantly impact Medicaid program funding and provider taxes. The company is trying to estimate the financial impact but acknowledges the uncertainty. This is a key risk factor for them. Let us touch on liquidity. Net cash provided by operating activities was $1.29 billion for the 9-month period, which is good but slightly down from last year. A notable factor is the increase in accounts receivable and payments related to self-insurance claims. Their days sales outstanding is around 55 days, which is not bad, but suggests it takes them about 2 months to collect on their outstanding bills. They are spending a lot on capital expenditures, over $734 million in just 9 months on things like new hospitals and renovations. This shows a commitment to growth and improvement of their facilities. They also spent money on acquisitions and developing their information technology. On the financing side, they spent over $615 million repurchasing shares of their stock. This is a common strategy to return value to shareholders. They also managed to borrow nearly $209 million while making significant repayments on debt. The company is actively managing its debt and equity. This section details their debt load. They have about $4.7 billion in debt. Their credit agreement has been amended to extend extend maturity dates and adjust their credit facilities. They have issued several senior secured notes with different interest rates and maturity dates. Managing this debt and interest payments is a significant part of maintaining their financial health. The report also mentions their total debt as a percentage of total capital is about 40%, which is a reasonable level, but worth noting. This part gets a bit technical, explaining the financial information for the entities that guarantee their debt. It highlights that while the notes are secured by certain assets, the value of these assets in a liquidation scenario is uncertain. This section reveals that the stock of certain subsidiaries has been pledged as collateral for their debt. This is a common practice, but it does mean that if the company defaults, a lot of its subsidiary stock could be seized. This is another crucial section. Universal Health Services Incorporated points out its sensitivity to Medicaid and state revenue programs. They are also subject to legislative changes like the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which could reduce Medicaid enrollment and expenditures. The report also flags pending legal actions and governmental investigations as major risks. They are facing substantial lawsuits, including the Cumberland and Pinnacle cases, which could result in massive payouts and significantly impact their financial condition. The filing also details increased premiums and lower aggregate limitations on their insurance coverage for professional and general liability, which is a growing concern. They mention cybersecurity threats as a significant risk, highlighting how a successful cyber attack could devastate their business and reputation. Looking at their operating results, specifically, they highlight the impact of inflation and staffing shortages on their expenses. While they have implemented cost reduction initiatives, they acknowledge the challenges of passing increased costs onto Medicare and Medicaid patients. They are actively negotiating with commercial insurers for better rates. The report also details their strategies for dealing with rising physician-related expenses and the impact of increased interest rates on their borrowing costs. It is important to note that Universal Health Services Incorporated provides a significant amount of uncompensated care. For the 3-month period, they provided over $1 billion in charity care and uninsured discounts. This is a societal contribution, but also a financial strain that impacts their overall profitability. So what is the story here? Universal Health Services Incorporated is a massive and profitable healthcare provider with strong revenue growth and effective operational improvements. They are expanding into new markets, and their core services in both acute care and behavioral health are performing well. However, they are navigating a complex regulatory environment with significant reliance on government programs like Medicare and Medicaid, which are subject to constant legislative and policy changes. The company is also facing substantial legal risks from major lawsuits with potentially enormous financial implications. Their debt levels are manageable, but managing interest expenses and access to capital are ongoing considerations. Their investment in property and equipment is substantial, reflecting their commitment to their infrastructure. Ultimately, Universal Health Services Incorporated is a company with a solid operational footing and a clear growth strategy, but it operates in a high-risk environment. The company's ability to navigate the shifting sands of healthcare regulation and manage its substantial legal liabilities will be key to its continued success. What is your take on Universal Health Services Incorporated's financial health and these regulatory and legal challenges? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown valuable, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. And remember to join our Discord community linked in the description for more real-time discussions. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next episode of Corporate Decoder.